Hello everyone, welcome to Nora's Vine. I'm Nora Vineyard and today I'm going to be doing a vlog about my school life. So what I'm doing now, what I've done in the past, all of that fun stuff. If that subject doesn't interest you at all, feel free to click off of this video. If it does, then please join me for the rest of this video and I will continue in a moment. Alrighty guys, so as some of you might know, I am a junior in high school and I have done pretty much everything from correspondence school to full public school. And there are a lot of things that have worked and have not worked and have just been crazy messes and all of that stuff. So I thought I would share my school life story with you guys on this vlog today. Um, and yeah, see where that takes me. To start off, I thought I would just give a few examples of what I've done in the past for school ever since kindergarten. So I started out being homeschooled because my mom was homeschooled pretty much from the fourth grade through high school, and then she went to college. And she really loved being homeschooled, and so she loved spending time with her family and being able to work at her own pace and not having teachers who were yelling at her for things that she believed in the school system may have differed from and all of those things. And just having the freedom to be with her family and go on trips and do all of that stuff. So she was really happy with being homeschooled, and that's what she wanted for her kids, especially when we were little and she didn't want us going out and getting sick and being away from her. So we were homeschooled through a academy kind of, or a program that did homeschooling from kindergarten and for me through the fifth grade. So we did a homeschooling program where they sent you your entire curriculum and then you had online meetings for math and reading twice a week. And so you still had classmates and teachers to help you work through problems and work through the book, but you still had that independence of going on trips whenever you wanted and just taking your curriculum with you and also being at home with your family and being able to work kind of at your own pace. So that was really, really nice when I was little. But eventually, when I was starting to get older, one, there were some teachers in the program in the older grades that I didn't really like. And two, I just really wanted to make friends and meet people and get out and do things instead of just constantly being at home with my mom and my brother. So for me, I was very extroverted. I just wanted to go out and socialize and learn to just work out of my shell a little bit. In the fifth grade, my mom thought, well, we could do part time school. And that's where you just go to a regular public school and only take a couple subjects, or you just go in the morning for a few subjects and recess, and then you go home and you do the rest of your schooling online or through another program. And pretty much no one else was doing that at the time. I was the only one in that school who was doing that, which makes sense because it's not a real easy thing to do, but apparently it was more common back in my mom's day. So she just signed me up for that, and they were like, "Yeah, well, we can do that." And so I did that. But the teachers were not fantastic there. I got sick constantly because my immune system was used to only being around family, and I was also still reasonably little, 8 or 9 years old, just a little fifth grader, and so I wasn't fully aware of germs, and there were a bunch of kids who were not at all aware of germs, and then me who had just been at home with family all the time, and I wasn't used to getting sick or being around all these germs, so I got sick constantly, which was not good. And eventually my mom was just like, we're not doing this anymore. You're too young. You're not really enjoying it. You're getting sick all the time. You're making us sick. So we just pulled me out and we did a homeschooling thing again for the rest of that year. And then in the sixth grade, I went back into my original program And that was great because I had a really nice teacher and I got to go on field trips and start to come out of my shell a little bit. And that was good, except that the teacher that I really liked was leaving that program, and so she wouldn't be teaching the next year in seventh grade. And the teacher that I didn't like, and I left that program before to get away from that teacher, was going to be teaching the seventh grade. So we decided we would just quit the programs altogether, just have my mom buy pieces of curriculums from different programs or different school curriculums that fit the seventh grade level, and I would just work completely on my own. And for me, that was okay, but it was quite stressful because I was constantly grading my own work and doing everything on my own and helping to school my little brother who was also doing everything on his own. And so, my mom was there, but she has a full time job. And so she can't be a teacher where their full time job is to grade everyone's paper and make up tests that you can do and say, okay, well, here you have to write a paper on, marsupials or something like that. She didn't have the time to put all of that together. So basically, I was just learning from the books, reading on my own, and then doing programs like Math Antics and Brain Pop to help me through some of the more difficult subjects and help my understanding of like science and math that I didn't understand as well and couldn't just get from reading the text. So those programs were nice because they had tests set up for you, and I did a lot of that. But I still felt like I was grading my own work and doing everything on my own, and I didn't feel like I was up to par with the rest of the seventh grade and the rest of the kids at my grade level. I thought there might be a way that I was behind because I'm just teaching myself this stuff and I'm not a teacher. So that was always quite stressful for me. Also, I love being with people. I'm a very sociable, extroverted person, and I really wanted to do something that would get me out with people and be with kids. At the time, the only prior experience I had was with my elementary school. And other than that, all I thought of schools were what I'd seen in movies or read in books, or like High School Musical or Barbie and the Clue Crew. Their schools and their, personas of you each stay in these groups and you have all these activities and everyone's just happy and there are, a few dramas, but they're fun to get through because they're making a story interesting. So that's all I had to go off of what school was like. And it's not really. But I just wanted to have what they had in the movies and the TV shows and the books that I'd read because that sounded like a lot of fun. I was with an acting academy at the time, and it was pretty much the only thing I had to socialize with other children. And at the time, they were doing a bigger production that I wasn't in, but I wanted to go see, and they did it at a charter school. And so we looked into the charter school because we hadn't heard of it before, and it looked like a nice school when we went to see the play. And my mom still thought it was a Catholic girls' school, and it had not been for almost 13 years. But anyway, we looked into that. We took a tour of the school, and then we decided to sign up. Fortunately, it did only go through the eighth grade, so I only have 1 year there. But it was a charter school, and it was the best experience of my entire schooling life. If I could do that for the rest of high school, I would. Um, the teachers there were amazing, and the kids there were great. I made so many friends and acquaintances. I also love that in a school, all the activities are together, so I was able to do student council and be in a play and be on the athletics team and do all of these things with the friends I'd made at school. And my mom didn't have to drive me all over town to do all these different activities. It was all in that one area. So that was really nice. And also, I learned that I was up to par with the rest of my students and peers because I was being graded the same as they were and doing the same papers and everything, and I was getting good grades. So I was a big relief to learn that I had done something right. I wasn't totally behind, I wasn't a loony, and that I was keeping up with the rest of the kids. Okay, so now you're kind of caught up through my elementary through middle school experience, and now we are in high school. As I said before, I'm in my junior year, so I've already had 2 years of complete craziness, and I've not found anything that I'm really happy with. Although I think I'm happiest with my situation right now, and we're working towards things that I can be even happier with. After my eighth grade year, which I thoroughly enjoyed, was at a charter school, I decided that I never wanted to go back to homeschooling again because I had such an amazing time going to an actual brick and mortar school. And so during my ninth grade year, I decided to go to a public high school that was near me. That just totally went down the drain. It was so horribly horrendous. Um, I was coming from this little charter school, this little middle school charter school, where everything was quite innocent. We had uniform codes, or dress codes. We wore uniforms, and everything was very kind of Christian and wholesome, and was very community esque, and it was a pretty small grade. I think I only had like 20 other kids in my class alone. And then I go into this public high school with thousands of other students. And, it's this big public high school, and I was expecting there to be some cussing among the students. I knew that I was probably the only one or one of the few who would have such high standards as never to cuss with anything. And then you'd have you'd have other people, but in majority, a lot of teenagers cuss. However, I did not expect the teachers to cuss, which they did constantly during their classes. And for me, and I hope for a lot of people, teachers, I know they have a lot to work with and deal with, but they should hold an example for their students. I mean, there's some of those people in a position who are role models for their students and who their students look up to. And so when you have someone who's your role model and who's teaching you all these things and who you're learning from, you don't want them to be cussing because that's making it seem like it's okay to cuss, or like, it's not a professional attitude which teachers should have, and it's not a attitude which I wanted to be around, and I wanted to, look up to my teachers and respect my teachers, and I can't do that if they're cussing every word while they're teaching. It took me another couple weeks to find an online academy um, to go to. We looked into a bunch of different academies and different public schools in the area and all of that stuff, and we finally decided on an online academy, which was fine, except that I was entering in 2 to 3 weeks late, so I was already behind on their scheduled material. Plus, they literally sent out an email to you where it said, you need to do, or students are expected to complete 1 to 3 hours of homework per subject per day. And I had 7 subjects. So I'm spending 7 to 21 hours or 23 hours on homework a day. And I was not willing to do that. And they weren't exaggerating when they said they were going to do that. Like, I was literally working all day long, and it was all online, which I hate because I get headaches from the computer and I don't like looking at a computer screen. I like having physical books that you can interact with and you're not getting all this blue light. So that was again a fail. I I went into a correspondence school, which is what my mom had done for all of her high school. It was the same program. And that was where they sent you all the material. You filled it out and did it all yourself. And then you sent it back to them and they graded it. And so that seemed like it would be a nice system because it would give me the freedom to do work, but I was still having teachers who were not my parents grading my work. And that didn't work because one, I was, um, I just procrastinated a lot. I didn't make a schedule. They didn't have a schedule, and I procrastinated a lot because I didn't want to do the work. And I was also 2 months behind by the time I started in November. And then there were some things about, their site not working. And so I was just so behind and I just laid it off even more. And that was a very bad decision. And then, of course, COVID hits and my mom gets sick and all of that. And it was just totally crazy and hectic and something I never want to do again. I wouldn't completely blame the correspondence school, but I didn't like that they didn't have instructors who instructed. They just had instructors who graded. So they would grade a test and they were like, okay, well, you got this answer wrong. Figure it out in another way. And that was it. They didn't send me to a certain page, or they didn't say maybe you could do it this way, or we could get on a phone call and work it out together or anything like that. So I had to get a tutor who was my 8th grade math teacher. And she was amazing, a very sweet, wonderful lady. And she helped me a lot, but even she didn't understand the math and the way they were teaching it and how the book described it. She was like, I've heard of this, but I've never heard of that way to do it. And she was a math teacher. So that was frustrating, but I did eventually get through it. By the time 10th grade rolled around, I was still speeding in some tests, but I did eventually actually get through it and graduate the 9th grade. And for the 10th grade, I went to another charter school. And this one was nice because it was nearby and it had arts. It was centered around the arts. And so it was a lot of fun to think about, having all these art classes and dancing classes and being able to perform every week and do singing and acting and all of that as part of the curriculum, because I'm very centered in the theatrical arts. And so that was really exciting, but when I got there, it was not all it lived up to be. The teachers, the majority of the teachers there were incredible, and I loved them. They were very good at what they taught, and they knew how to teach their subjects well and help explain it to me and all of those things. And there were some that were, but you have 7 subjects. You're not going to have all fantastic teachers, but there were a lot who were really great there and who I really appreciated. But the student body was not fantastic. And I don't want to put myself into situations where I am uncomfortable. And, I can take a few people cussing, but I don't want my friend group to be cussing all the time and talking about sexual intercourse and all of that. And not only were my peers talking about that right in my table, but everyone in the lunchroom would be talking about that and no one would do anything. The administrators, the teachers who were there, students would be talking about all kinds of things that were totally inappropriate for school conversations, but since they were on their lunch period, no one could have a say in it. And so they were just giving the students, I think, too much freedom. And it didn't make me feel safe. So I left there as well. And now we're here in the 11th grade. I did finish my whole year out there though. So I went online the second half of the year, which was only available because COVID was happening. So that worked pretty well because I still got those good teachers and I was able to join into classes, but I wasn't constantly around students who were making me feel unsafe. All right, everyone. So for my schedule, I have a little calendar and this is just for the month of November, so I only have what I'm supposed to do in this month, which is almost over. And I just have the subjects in color coded, and then what I'm going to do in each subject per day, and then all the gray spots are marked out as days that I was performing or weekends. And I made the mistake of not paying very much attention of the days when I was making out this calendar. So I also included things that I would do on the weekends, which is actually working pretty well because I don't have a lot to do on the weekends. So, and I took so much time out for the play that I was doing at the beginning of the month that I think I'm just going to keep this schedule and then work in weekends next month. Like I said, just editing a few things as I go each month. So I'll have a calendar for the month I'm on and all of the subjects in that month to be completed by the end of the month. There's a little turkey for Thanksgiving, and that is what that is. And then on these little cards, I have the months of my school basically. So I have November, December, January, and February so far, and this is just a very vague general schedule of what I plan to do per month. So for November, I have like all my Russian stuff that I'm going to do. My Russian unit will be in November. And in December is going to be like completing my Russian unit and going into my Shakespearean and Greek unit. January English unit, February different pieces of literature, including American and all of those things. So I have my whole curriculum, I have the vague little note cards, and then each month that I come upon, I make a more complete curriculum. And all right, so for November, I have my Russian unit, as I said. So this is just all the books that I was supposed to have read in like the 9th and 10th grade, and all the books that I need to read for this grade in order to get into schools in my area, and just things that I'm interested in or my mom felt that I should read. So for November, I decided that would be my Russian literature unit, and I have Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, which I just finished. The Communist Manifesto is the other one that I will be reading in this month, and then A Day in the Life of Ivan Desanovich by Solzhenitsyn. I will be starting and probably finishing in November since November is, December, finishing in December since November is nearly over. So that's what I have for the main part of my English or literature curriculum for November. And then with that, I'm reading selections from an American literature book, which was actually part of my mom's curriculum when she was in high school. And there are just a lot of shorter works in here that are important to read to have a full education. I have a law book which goes over, this is incredibly interesting, guys. It goes over cases all the way from the first will and testament to the most recent gay rights trial in 2017, I think. But I bought this book for my brother when he was really interested in law, and I've just taken a liking to it, and I've learned a lot from it. So I just read about a page from that a day, and it just gives me a little extra knowledge. And then finally, I have anthropology and archaeology as part of my science. This was my mom's book in college because she majored in archaeology or anthropology, one or the other, maybe both. But this was her book when she was in college, and I thought I'd use it as part of my science curriculum since we had it, and I thought I'd find it interesting. So I'm almost finished with that for November, and then I have a few other things to kind of round off my science education. For December, I have my Old English and Greek unit, and for the literature portion, I am reading two of Shakespeare's works. One is Macbeth, which you are not allowed to say in the theater because apparently it is a cursed play. But I will be reading Macbeth, and I will be reading The Tempest as well. So those will be for my old English portion. I've never read those. I've read Shakespeare, but I haven't read either of those stories. And then I have Troy by Stephen Fry for the Greek portion of my book, of my schedule. Anyway, words. Anyway, Troy will be part of my curriculum as well. And then I will be finishing off the stories that I've chosen from American literature from my mom's school. And then for the social studies and scientific portion, I will be learning about ancient Greece in this beautiful book. It has a bunch of these pictures of art, and it goes over many different tales and maps and all of that stuff. So I'll be reading that and taking a little bit from ancient civilizations as well to read about Rome and Greece, just to add on to that book as well for my December unit. Okay, so for my January unit. All right, so for my January unit, I decided that would be kind of my English and American literature unit. So I will do the Adventures in English Literature, which was another one of my mom's books in high school, and it has a bunch of English poems and stories in it, and I will be taking a few select works from there and reading those over January. I also have The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which I will be reading. That should be a pretty short story, but it's just to round off some of my knowledge with Poe's works. And then I have The Importance of Being Earnest as the final work for my English literature unit. My gosh. And I'm also planning to read Rocking Horse Winter, but since I don't actually have that book yet, I'm not sure if I'll continue to have that in the schedule, and I don't have it with me to show. And then last, for geography, social studies, and the rest of my science, I have this geography book, which goes over a bunch of things about the planet and the rain, and kind of finishes off my earth and biology that I'd taken in the 9th and 10th grade. So that's all I have for January, and we'll move on to February. For February, I just have like general books that I've been advised to read or that I felt I should read to finish off my schooling, because I will have read the most important ones already for the curriculums that I looked at. And those books are Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Anyway, it's by Friedrich Nietzsche, and I just thought that would be interesting to learn a little bit more about religion and coming away from God and all of that. It sounded interesting, and it was apparently one that my mom recommended. And then the other is Walden and some of his other writings. So this is by Thoreau. And my mom just said, I have to read this book. The name Walden is actually what my great-grandfather was named after the character in this book. So it's just important to our family that we read this, and I will be reading this in February. And then finally for February, I will be finding some online tutors to help me with finishing off my math education, mathematics, and all of that. And I will be finishing off my geography unit for science. And that is all I have for the year as of now. I may add on to it as the months progress. I might add on to what I've done previously, which was to do some college courses online through different universities where they just offer a course, you pay for it, take a test, and you get credit for it. So other than that, that is all I plan to do for my junior year of high school. And then going into my senior year, I will either be doing this again, but I will have a more complete idea of what I should do in order to be ready for college next year and start a little earlier, like in August instead of starting in November. And if not, then I will be going to a charter high school here, and it's kind of hard to get into. But I will be working on trying to get into that so that I have something that actually says I've graduated high school instead of my mom just writing off on a diploma. Um, but yeah, so that's me. That's my school life. Okay, everyone, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit more about me, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching. It really makes my day. And yeah, have a wonderful time, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.